Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. So, got a load right now. I'm taking to Tracy, California. Delivers in the morning at 04. I have stopped to take my 10-hour break at the top of Donner Pass. It's actually a beautiful day up here. It's probably like 40 degrees. It's pretty early. So I've stopped a little before 2 p.m., before 1400. So I'll be out of here by around midnight to finish this up. I think I'm like 200 miles out, maybe a little bit less. So I'll head down, and yeah, it was kind of cool. The worst part about coming up here was just the cupping from the chains, and that started, way back down in Nevada. I mean, it's like, I realize now why some people, it makes them uncomfortable being in a truck, because sometimes you feel like you're not in control, even when you kind of are. But man, it's like the sensation of just like squirming around, because you're kind of, I mean, I know it's easy to say, oh, they should just do something about the roads. I'm not sure if maybe the answer is don't let people drive up here with chains. I mean, because obviously the roads are open, they're clear. There's actually a fair amount of snow melt going on. But anyway, that sensation of just being like you're on coasters, like you're on the wheels to just go any direction, man. It's a little bit unnerving. And I'm not heavy at all. My load is maybe 15,000 pounds. So that probably didn't help at all. It helped climbing fast, but didn't help the feeling of stability. So check this out. So this is where I usually would go up and hike, but you can see the sign above my head. It says no snow play. So I guess I can't go up there today. But yeah, it's kind of cool. A lot of snow melt going on right now. Okay, so yeah, so right behind this is the rest area westbound, of course, because I said I was going to Tracy, California. Right behind that snowbank in the summertime, I usually go like hiking up in the woods right there. And really very close right behind the building here in the rest area is the Pacific Crest Trail. And that trail is a north-south trail that runs from the Mexican border to the Canadian border. It's like 2,650 miles. And just for kind of comparison's sake, the Appalachian Trail, which runs from Stone Mountain, Georgia to, I think it's Baxter State Park in Maine, that's about 2,160, 2,180. Of course, it doesn't go border to border, right? Like, I guess it'd be a lot longer if it went all the way down to like Key West or something. Then you'd have to walk across some bridges or swim. But I've never really done any hiking on the Pacific Crest Trail. I've been on the Appalachian Trail a bunch of times, many miles. Not the whole thing. I've never through hiked it, but yeah. Anyway, so just kind of a little comparison, and I think those. And there is, by the way, there is a national like trail system that goes around the country or through the country. So a couple of items. January 7th is today. One item that was like really interesting to me is 10 years ago today. 10 years ago, so 2013, the state of Mississippi finally basically recognized the 13th Amendment. They were the last state to do so. They had ratified it, but in 1995, which is still kind of amazing since the 13th Amendment was passed in like 1867 or something. But anyway, they finally completely recognized it in 2013. Now that just goes to show you that you don't need every state to have an amendment. So the last amendment that got to the full number of states required for ratification is the Equal Rights Amendment. The Commonwealth of Virginia finally ratified that. I say finally, I mean not every state has done it. I don't know exactly what the status of it is now, because then afterward, after the governorship changed in Virginia, there were people that were like, oh, we want to take that back. I don't know if you can unring a bell once a legislature has ratified an amendment. Although, like I said, 1995 to 2013 for Mississippi on the 13th Amendment. So we'll have to see. So I wanted to talk today about a couple of things. One is retirement, right? Now, I'm 60. My situation's a little bit unique in that I already have a pension that I've been collecting, from the military for many moons. And in fact, I've actually made, I did the math quickly. I've actually made more as a pensioner than I ever did on active duty. Like if you looked at 20 years of active duty and then 20 years of my pension paid more out over 20 years. So if there's any young people out there listening, I mean, I know that the military is not the most popular thing anymore. I mean, the military's having trouble recruiting. That's why they're paying huge entry bonuses for all sorts of skills. You don't have to be some, hoo-yah guy, jumping out of planes or whatever, or, deep sea diving to get a bonus. I mean, if you're a bright person, you could probably qualify for skill. And I share all that with you because what I've told people, young folks over the years is, yeah, I have a pension that I started getting when I was 38, but the real benefit, I think, notwithstanding that I've been in, pretty good health my whole life, but the real benefit are the medical benefits. We pay a tiny amount of money for insurance coverage, and even when I had all the kids under the plan and everything, it still wasn't that much. And when I say not that much, I mean I'm talking like a few $100 a year for coverage. Now we have co-pays and stuff. Anyway, I didn't mean to get all sidetracked on that, but it's just something that I think about. Having good health coverage is helpful, especially to get you to retirement. So getting back to what I was talking about. Right now, I think the economy is actually starting to improve. The job numbers have been good. It wouldn't surprise me if the Fed, hikes interest rates, maybe another 25 basis points, and then kind of sees what's going on. But here's the thing about employment. It might be possible that we've been in a recession and here's why I say that. Employment is what is called a lagging indicator, meaning that people lose their jobs well after a recession has already started. Now, there are a lot of companies that are still laying people off. I just saw that Zoom is laying off 15% of its workforce. A lot of tech companies have laid off. Google, Intel, Amazon has laid off. They're a tech company. They're a lot of things. So it doesn't mean that people aren't, that things aren't tough in certain sectors. But one of the things that I saw on Freight Waves a little bit ago was that the rate of freight costs dropping has slowed. So the rates are still going down, but they're not going down as fast as they were. And, you know, if you think about it, right, I mean, maybe that doesn't sound like positive news, but if you think about it, something, you know, something that's going up, right? If you fire a rifle into the air straight up, the bullet, the second it leaves the barrel, is decelerating, but it has to decelerate all the way to 0 before it comes back down. Well, conversely, the decline of rates has to basically bottom out before they can start coming back up. So slowing to a 0 is good, you know, I'm not saying we're there, but it will be good news. So what does that mean to you for your retirement? Well, right now, a lot of stuff is on sale. Houses are on sale in some markets, but the stock market is also on sale. I saw, and you've probably heard this before, but I'm gonna give you just one very small but very concrete example. In 2008, the market started crashing, the Great Recession, right? The market bottomed out on March 9th, 2009. And I was working in financial services at the time, and I remember talking to people, and they were just panic stricken. They were going to cash, and I'm like, look, when the market's crashing, going to cash is your worst move. But you have to overcome psychology. And I would say to people, and here's the example I would always use, I'd say, look, McDonald's stock is down 10% in the last month. Do you think people are quitting going to McDonald's? No. People are selling McDonald's stock because they need cash, right? And it still had value. So when there's a cash crunch, you sell the positions that are doing the best. You try to sell what still has value instead of selling stuff that's already hit rock bottom, right? But a lot of people, you know, all that is counterintuitive to them. But here's why I'm bringing up McDonald's and based, you know, what I said in 2008, 2009 to people. If you bought McDonald's stock 10 years ago, so in 2013, so forget about if you really wanted to make a killing, you'd have bought it on March 9th, 2009. But maybe you didn't know that. But if you'd have just bought it 10 years ago in January of 2013, February 2013, you would have already tripled your money in 10 years. Now, is McDonald's an outlier? Probably a little bit, but probably not as much as you think. And here's why I tell you that. You don't have to like crack some code to make money in the markets, right? Now, certainly if you got a 401k or a 403b or an IRA, you should maximize your contributions to that. But there are so many stocks that you can just buy with a little bit of mad money, with a little bit of your, you know, like $50 a month. And if you're in your 20s, $50 a month in a stock like McDonald's, let's say, or Coca-Cola, brands that everybody's heard of and brands that, you know, do you ever go by a McDonald's drive-thru and there's not somebody in the drive-thru? I mean, if the restaurant's open, there's somebody in the drive-thru, right? Huge brand, global brand. And I don't own McDonald's stock, by the way. But my point is that there are so many stocks that you can buy directly. You don't even need to go to a stockbroker. You can just go online, buy them directly. Now, here's an example of a company that I pay attention to because part of the money that gets in my pocket is because of this company. And it's Tyson. So Tyson, as you know, is a huge food producer, right? They own all these different brands, Jimmy Dean's, you know, I don't know what all they own. They own a lot, right? But Tyson just took a beating because its first quarter numbers were disappointing, and they kind of use the same fiscal year like the federal government. So their first quarter was October to December. So they just reported first quarter results. their stock is near a 52-week low. I didn't check on it before I started recording this, but their stock is near a 52-week low. And the reason is that they said was what happened because of the drought in all these western states. A lot of cattle and hog producers, but especially cattle producers, decided to slaughter animals sooner than they otherwise would have because of forage, because of grasslands and stuff like that. So what happened is they made those decisions like in August, September, whatever. That meat came to market in Tyson's first quarter, right? And we all know, right? They kill them, they chop them up, and then they put them in our trucks, and then 2 days later we're at Walmart or Costco or wherever it's going, right? So all that beef and some pork, but certainly beef, flooded the market in the fourth quarter, which was Tyson's first quarter. Tyson, a lot of what they do is chicken. Okay, they do other products, but a lot of what they do is chicken. And they took a beating on the chicken side. And that's one of the reasons that their numbers, they didn't meet expectations for what analysts thought they should be doing. But what does that mean to you? Well, Tyson is not going anywhere. It's a huge company. We all know that, right? But their stock's on sale. Why? Because some farmer in Kansas thought the grass was so dry he had to send his cattle to market, right? Like, that's how the world works. But you can take advantage of it, right? And Tyson's a stock that you can buy. I use Computershare. I'm not shilling for them. I use Computershare when I buy the stocks I buy, and I use the allowance my wife gives me. My wife gives me a big enough allowance that I can feed myself, and I still have money left over to buy stock every month, right? And you can just set it up. I think Tyson, you could buy $25, right? So you could do it on a weekly basis, but even if you only did $25 a month, right? So $300 a year. If you're 25 years old, what do you think Tyson's going to be worth in 25 or 35 years when you decide to retire? I don't know, but I bet it's going to be worth a lot, because guess what? It pays a dividend, right? You know, they're not going anywhere. And even if they go somewhere, it would only be to get bought out by some larger concern. You know, and it's the same thing with, like I said, McDonald's, Coke, railroads. I mean, they're not, you know, they pay dividends. Look at consumer goods, right? Say, what do people buy no matter what? Okay, I knew a guy that I mentioned this before. He had a potato chip vending route or snack food vending route in Massachusetts. He's like, hey, when people are happy, they buy snack foods. When they're sad, they buy snack foods, right? It doesn't matter what. If they're having a picnic, they buy snack foods. If they're having a tailgater, they're buying snack foods. If they're having a Super Bowl party, they're buying snack foods, right? If it's movie night at home, they're watching Netflix, they're buying snack foods. Think about the things that you use every day, right? You don't have to be buying Bitcoin or taking a flyer on some technology you don't even understand, right? Just buy stuff. There's a reason some companies have been around for hundreds of years, right? There's a reason. And those companies, some of them go away. Sears went away, right? General Electric has kind of gotten broken up. But there are still companies out there. I mean, honestly, Walmart. If you bought Walmart stock 20 years ago, I'm sure it would have already quadrupled in value, maybe more, you know, because they pay dividends. And, you know, so you get the point, right? Stuff is on sale. Take advantage of it. You might not need a new car or a new TV or a new this or a new that. But the $25 or $50 or $100 or $200 a month that you put into something like this, it's going to pay off in the long run. and it's just and because you're buying it outside of a qualified account, like I said, I just use Computer Share, you can get to that money whenever you need it. Rainy day fund. So there's that. Couple of things I wanted to mention. I told you it's like 40 degrees up here, but I went through some crazy ups and downs of temperatures to the point where I got fuel in Wells, Nevada this morning. I was like, dang, I've already seen a 9-degree temperature. And I picked this trailer up in Ogden, Utah, but I don't know where the fuel for that trailer came from. And even though some people say, oh, you don't need to pre-treat fuel or put anti-gel in it, I said to somebody the other day that it's peace of mind, right? Because if I don't put anti-gel in this trailer, which by the way is at 55 degrees, and something happens to this load, I'm going to be on the hook for it. So I put anti-gel in. I'm here in California now. It's probably not going to get cold, but I used half of a bottle. Better safe than sorry, right? And I actually didn't know it was going to be below 15 degrees until I got on the road this morning, because I was in Wendover last night and it wasn't that cold. So that's one thing. The other thing is, and I got to admit I'm bad about this. I started heading across Nevada from Wendover, or West Wendover, with like 1/8 of a tank of fuel. Now I knew I was going to fuel in Wells, and I knew fuel was getting cheaper as I got closer to California. I don't know why fuel is so dang expensive in Utah. I mean, I don't get that necessarily, but anyway, I was thinking about how it always makes. I have a couple of sons-in-law that both get worried when the fuel is running low, and I want to share this quick story with you, and I should have learned my lesson, but I was taking my daughter and my son-in-law to the airport one time, and I had like below 1/4 of a tank of fuel when we got in the car, and it was an early morning flight, and I didn't know it at the time. I was just driving, and my daughter was like, Dad, do you think you should stop and get some fuel? I'm like, nah, well, I'll be fine, But apparently my son-in-law and daughter were texting each other the whole time, and my son-in-law was freaking. He's like, we're gonna miss our flight. We're not gonna make it. We're gonna get stranded on the side of the highway. And long story short, we didn't. They made their flight. I've never run out of fuel in a commercial vehicle, but a couple of times I've challenged it. And this morning I kind of challenged it, even though I knew how far Wells was, but I probably shouldn't have done that, because it is still the middle of winter, and I was going across I-80, going across Nevada. So my advice is, don't do what I did. I'm going to try to get better at that and just say, you know what, once I hit 1/4, especially in the wintertime, in a place that's remote, you got to get some fuel. So anyway, be safe. I'm going to take this load down to Tracy in the morning, and then we'll see what comes after that. Take care. Bye.